So, Eric here. Got a little bit of a different setup today. I think I've done this once before, just in the living room. Still have some of the Halloween decorations up. Halloween was just yesterday. But anyways, today I'm just going to be talking about something that's not necessarily a dog training general question, but a question directed at us specifically, and what we offer that we get a lot, that I wanted to put a video out there to address. So why don't we offer group classes? Because a lot of dog trainers do offer group classes, so why do you guys only do private lessons or board and trains or just board and trains or whatever? There may be a time in the future that we offer classes again, but currently we don't, and I'm going to go over today some of the reasons why. We used to do group classes and we don't anymore. So I've got a few notes, just some general things that I wanted to kind of talk about. One, there are tons of dog trainers that do group classes. So, we did group classes for a while, and when we decided that we wanted to focus more on quality over quantity, one of the realizations that we came to was if somebody is looking for group classes, there's no shortage of those. There's more available than there's necessarily even demand for. There's not people like waiting for weeks or months to get started in a group class. Like, it's not hard for people to find. Like, you can easily go out today and successfully find group classes. So there's not really any reason for us to offer the same thing. So when we kind of shifted gears out of classes, for a number of reasons that I'm going to talk about, we decided we were going to focus more on quality than quantity. So we do board and trains, and we do private one-on-one lessons. And some of the main reasons for that is when we did group classes, we always felt like there was a lot of dogs that came through and successfully graduated class, and the owners were happy, problems were solved, you've got an obedient dog. But there was also always some dogs who were a little bit slower and just didn't pick up as fast, so they didn't get everything out of the class that the majority of the dogs did. Say if they're struggling with a couple of the obedience commands, they needed a little more time to work on those, but the rest of the class was moving on. So they either had all of their obedience commands, but they were kind of sloppy, or they just had half of them really down and the others we didn't even get to. And then there was also typically one or two of your high-intensity dogs, your intelligent, drivey, want to go dogs like German Shepherds or German Shepherd type dogs. If we had any kind of Shepherd or like herding dog, Border Collies, like those dogs, they're just ready to go. So if you've got a class where 70% of the class is moving at a relatively steady pace, but you've got your Border Collies and your German Shepherds that are like, I'm bored with this, like they're not getting out of that time what they should be, what they could be if it was a one-on-one lesson. So, we had dogs where obviously in a perfect world we could have segregated all of our classes into, this is just this very small age range and same breed and same personality and same type of owner and like everything, but we didn't have a staff of people to filter things out like that. So maybe we would have had, 6 or 8 dogs that moved really fast and 6 or 8 dogs that moved really slow, but that's never how a class falls together. And a lot of times we don't know that until we've already gotten a lesson or two into a class. So, for a good portion of the dogs, it was good, but the dogs that wanted to move faster, or the dogs that needed a little bit more one-on-one time, like there was always dogs that I didn't feel good about what the end result was in the class. So one reason that we kind of shifted gears and focus only working with dogs one-on-one. Now, we still do our group socials, which is kind of a spin on group class, but we're not really teaching new things. This is all for graduated clients. So dogs who have been through a one-on-one program, they already have a good foundation. They've already learned all the obedience stuff. They've got pretty good manners. Like, we're taking this out into the real world and we're applying these things. So we're strengthening the skills that we already have, and we're maybe touching up on some things that we've already learned. But we're not like teaching new obedience commands and things like that. All of our teaching is done one-on-one. That's one of the reasons. And let's see. Another reason was when we were doing group classes, we were doing them like any place that you're going to do group classes is probably like a sterile training environment. If you're going to get 6, 8, 10, 12 dogs in one space, it's probably not a living room. It's probably not a space that they're accustomed to and they spend a lot of time in. It's probably like a big open space, probably concrete floors and folding chairs or something like that. It's an environment that is very distinct and that they recognize like this is where we're doing training, and when we walk out, like that's the real world. So we would joke a lot of times that dogs would walk in with their halos and walk out with their pitchforks. Now that obviously wasn't all dogs, but there was dogs that really took advantage of that, and obviously a lot of that is how the owner, how the handler responds. But it was an obstacle that we found. So in shifting gears, doing our training in a home-like environment, I think has made a huge impact on how quickly the dogs transfer what they learn into other scenarios. So even though, just like a kid, they understand that the rules are different at our house versus grandma's house or Uncle Bob's house. Like some things are allowed here, but they aren't allowed there. Dogs are very similar, but they really pick up on things because they pick up on things so much quicker when they're learning in a home-like environment, because dogs make associations so quickly and accurately and strongly. An example is, obviously, like, your dog, if every time you go to take your dog for a run, you get your running shoes and you jingle your keys or whatever, like you've got your routine before you go to work, before you go for a run, before you take the kids to school, and your dogs cue up on these things as soon as you pick a certain item up. Or you do a combination of things, like you sit down on the stool where you always put your shoes on for running, or you pick up your keys and stick them in your pocket before you go to work. Like, your dogs make these associations and they know this is what's happening. Like, they put two and two together even faster than you and I would, because that's just how dogs' brains work, right? More so than trying to distinguish all of our verbal communication and everything else that we flood our minds with. So, like, what we've found is, even if we, like, when we're teaching the names of rooms and we teach living room or entryway or foyer or kitchen or bathroom or garage, like, dogs know when they go home, it takes about 2 or 3 times of naming that same room at home, and the dogs get it. So kitchens, they generally look similar. They have things like a sink, a trash can, maybe a table, an island. Oftentimes the floor is different in the kitchen than it is in the living room or the room that meets up to it. Entryway or foyer always has a doorway. It's where people come in. Living room is where the couches are, and it's where people spend most of their time. Garage, again, probably has a concrete floor and different walls, and it has a totally different setting. So, like, dogs know this, and dogs transfer, I think, what they learn in the home-like setting when they go home to their home faster and better than when they learn, when all of their learning is done in a big open space with white concrete floors. So, yeah, just learning in the home-like environment is something that we've not been able to facilitate a group class in a large enough home where we can get 6, 8, 10 dogs. So that's just kind of another reason, not one of our primary reasons, but something that we found along the way that was a benefit. Another thing that I don't think we really thought much about, but have come to find as we've kind of refined this process over the years, is you're only going to retain so much of the information that you get from any type of learning. So when we're going through all the information that we give you with your dog training, which is how to read dog body language, what your dog's saying to you when they do certain things, how you're communicating to them, how to use the various training tools that we use, how to assert yourself as the leader but not be overly dominant or harsh, and to also know if your dog has a certain personality, you might need to chip away their confidence, whereas another dog, you need to build up their confidence. Like, there's a ton of information that we would give in a class that for one dog in particular, they might just need this information. So, like, we know that if we give you I'm just gonna throw a number out there. If we give you 5 hours of education, like, of that, you're going to retain maybe 60% of it, or 70% of it if you're lucky. So if we're giving you all this information that doesn't necessarily pertain to your personality type or your dog's personality traits, again, example, if you've got a fearful dog versus a super cocky, doesn't respect boundaries at all dog, like, you need to approach that in different ways. So when you've got this huge surplus of information that applies to all the different types of dogs, personalities, and dogs that have different drives, and dogs that are food motivated versus toy motivated versus physical touch motivated, like, you've got all this. Like, when you're taking in all that information and you're only getting a fraction of it, you're again getting less of what you need that you're going to remember. So with working one-on-one, we're able to only give you the information that you need. So if you've got a dog that is really fearful and is, XYZ, is not motivated by food or toys, and you've got to kind of look to something else to get them interested in what you're doing and enjoying training, we can only give you that information that specifically fits your unique scenario. So when you only retain 60% of that, that's just kind of how it is. You're only going to retain so much of it. You're at least getting 60% of what you needed, not 60% of what the whole dog training community needed, because then, half of that probably applies to you. So that's another thing that, again, in focusing on the people that we were seeing that needed something that wasn't offered in just the regular group classes, that is something that they're looking for. They're looking to get the most in the shortest amount of time, which is going to happen most effectively by working specifically with you, only teaching you what you need to know, not worrying about the stuff that the other 8 dogs needed to hear, and being able to troubleshoot too, because again, with just going through and teaching what sit and down and heel and place and come mean, and respecting doorways and all that, like, there's your general practice that's going to work for probably 75% of dogs, and then there's the outliers that you need to troubleshoot those individual situations. And in a group class, you aren't really able to work with those outliers and troubleshoot those various situations. Those outliers kind of just either have to figure it out on their own, or they don't really ever learn those behaviors or feel confident, the owners feel confident in maintaining those behaviors. So, yeah. What else did I have written down? I think that's basically it. So, yeah, again, today just talking about why we don't do group classes, not necessarily talking about something that pertains to all of dog training, but is more specifically to us, and that we do hear kind of a lot. It's because you can go find a dog training class. Like, there are plenty, probably within 10 miles of you, of regular classes, if that's what you're looking for. So that's just not what we do. If you're looking for one-on-one, specific to you and your dog training program, that's what we do. So if you want to have filtered out the information that you do and don't need, and only get the condensed version of what you and your dog need to succeed, what you would need to succeed, then that's more of what we do.